So welcome to our workshop on how to deal with tension. Let's wait for a short while in case people are still joining. So do if you feel like it, post comments or questions. Maybe you can let us know how you're getting on with meditation. What you finding works for you or doesn't work. And any maybe subjects you want addressing, you could post that. So how have you got on with the with meditation in the week? Hopefully you managed to do at least a 1 minute session of mindfulness each day. So let's start the workshop. So tension is quite a complex issue with mindfulness and meditation. There's a few factors involved. We'll go. So I'll probably talk a bit more this time. Main thing we want to do, and I think I didn't always do this when I was learning meditation, was we want to meditate in a way which reduces tension rather than builds tension. That might sound simple, but it's surprisingly easy to meditate in a way which builds tension. I think this can explain why people can drop out from meditation, think they can't meditate. It's easy to approach meditation as an activity that we add, like as another activity to do, whereas it's actually a relaxation, a kind of enjoyment to relaxation. And yeah, so it's easy to kind of try too hard with meditation, and particularly if we're not used to how our body feels, how our mind, what's going on in our mind and body, to use more effort than's necessary. So that's a good thing to bear in mind. You might need to use less effort than you think. Kind of when I started meditating 25 years ago or so, I think I was kind of meditating with a sledgehammer, and kind of we got taught a technique, a method, like the 4-stage mindfulness of breathing, and then I would do that very strictly and force myself through any kind of tension or distraction, and sometimes gritting my teeth as well at the same time. And actually meditation's a lot less, it's a lot less like, it's not so much like smashing a wall down with a sledgehammer than finding a key and unlocking the door and going through the doorway. So it's a lot more subtle than I first started out. But So a few factors. So there's no mental tension without physical tension. So we can't have a mental or emotional tension without some physical tension. And you'll notice this if you look, that if you get angry, you'll tense up, or if you're thinking hard, you'll do some physical activity, usually frowning. So those two go together. So that's something we can use. So it's kind of even more important that we meditate with our body, in our body, rather than kind of meditating just in our head. Let's try a quick, short meditation to start with, where if you came to the previous workshops, we focused on going up and down the gears of mindfulness, and we did, in terms of the second gear, we did focusing on the relaxing unnecessary physical activity and relaxing unnecessary mental activity, in terms of resting the eyes as the physical version, and then allowing thoughts to fall away naturally or come and go like taxis that we don't need to get into. So we can go a bit deeper with the second gear of mindfulness now and focus actually on physical tension, physical or emotional holding. So this is what I call the core mindfulness process. And it's a bit like going down into a tunnel system and with a head torch, and you find a tunnel blocked with stones, and then you take out the stones one at a time. It's a bit like that, go exploring your body, a bit like archaeology in your body. And we can do that. We can bring our awareness inside our body and notice anywhere where there seems to be holding or tension, and then notice how that feels, how the area feels. That usually it will feel dissatisfying in some way if there's too much holding or tension. So this is the problem we're dealing with. If there's too much tension, that it's not just a matter of there's too much tension, but it also doesn't feel good. If it felt good, then the tension probably wouldn't be, we probably wouldn't see it as a problem. So we're bringing our awareness into our body, and we're noticing these two components to our experience, which is the activity and the feeling. So the activity is there's some tension or emotional holding. The feeling is it usually doesn't feel good. Yeah, there's maybe pain or discomfort. So that's they're the main two components of the mindfulness process. So the process is, the core mindfulness process is noticing the feeling somewhere in our body, and we can choose where we focus. Dissatisfaction, probably it's likely to be a feeling of dissatisfaction, and then noticing the activity that's going on there in connection to that feeling, which is likely to be a holding, emotional attention, or thoughts, mental tension, and then allowing that activity to release using one of the gears, and then the fourth stage is noticing if you feel better. Okay, after there's some release or relaxation of the activity. They're the four main stages of the mindfulness process. So I've just talked quite a lot, so I'll run us through just a few minutes of the core mindfulness process. And you can choose any way you like, but I recommend maybe starting with the eyebrows, the area around the eyes or eyebrows, because it's kind of somewhere we're used to being noticing tension and being able to relax them fairly easily when we notice tension. So even if it's a small, tiny amount of tension and relief, that's good. So let's spend a few minutes with the eyebrows. Again, allowing the eyes to rest naturally. You can allow the eyes can close if they want to. So let's do 3 minutes or so. So first noticing the feeling. Does it feel good or not? In the eyebrows, in that area. You may not notice any feeling. It may just be neutral. It might be subtle. And then noticing if you feel any tension or holding in the eyebrows. See if you can allow that to relax away even a tiny amount. The eyebrows relaxing away from each other around towards the sides of the head, even if it's just a tiny bit. Opening up the space between the eyebrows. And then noticing if even if some relaxation, tiny amount of relaxation happens, noticing if there is any small feeling of relief or relaxation, good feeling, relaxation afterwards. If you don't feel anything at all, you can make it a bit more obvious by tensing up the eyebrows a little bit and noticing the feeling. Does that feel good or not? And allowing them to relax. Noticing if a relaxed eyebrows feels better than tense eyebrows. It might just be a subtle difference. Okay, so we'll stop there then. So that's a very short version of the core mindfulness process. So may have been subtle. It's a bit like what we did at the end, is a bit like progressive muscle relaxation, very subtle version. So kind of hopefully most people can get a sense of tension, kind of able to release a little bit from the eyebrows. So it's a kind of easy place to start. As a way of kind of getting to know the core mindfulness process, where we're taking the direct method a bit deeper into the body. The main advice I'd give is don't go to extremes with trying to, with that kind of approach. So don't pick the kind of the core of your tension to work on straight away. It's good to the kind of most important thing with the mindfulness process is that you can always work in a way where you can feel a small amount of enjoyment and relaxation, even if it's a tiny amount. Yeah, so you choose the gear that's suitable for you, which lets you feel at least a little bit of enjoyment of relaxation. Yeah, don't force yourself on with meditation if there's absolutely no good feeling in the body, if there's absolutely no enjoyment at all. Stop and go for a walk, or that represents stepping down the gear. Yeah, so use the gear that's that's right for you. So it's kind of middle way. Don't go straight for the worst tension. And you can go through the body and alternate. So Peter Levine is great for this. He introduced the idea of pendulation. So if we're suffering from extreme tension in the body, whether it's physical, emotional, or overthinking, we can learn to pendulate between a part of our experience which feels okay and the part which is difficult. That's good to know. You don't just go straight for the difficult tension or pain and stay with it and hammer at it. You pendulate between, there's a kind of, you find a part of your experience that feels okay and safe or feels good. Then you come back to tension and work with it a little bit, and then go back to the good place, and then alternate between the two. And that's what he means by titration, where you don't just blast, you don't just attack full front attack on your difficult experience. You titrate it a little bit at a time. So you always, this is what I mean by, you always are able to meditate in a way where you have some good feeling of relaxation, even if it's a tiny amount. And if not, then you stop and do something else for a while, come back to it. So it's kind of common sense, really. It's a natural thing, we all know. So the focusing on the eyebrows was a fairly easy version. And usually for many people, there's a kind of core of tension around the solar plexus or somewhere in the torso or the hard chest or heart. So some mindfulness teachers maybe don't realize that teaching breathing meditation for beginners straight away might be too much because there's, for many people, there can be trauma around that, the torso. And that can kind of take people straight to the difficult area, difficult experience too quickly. That's why I quite like to start with a visual sense, or working with the eyebrows, and you can start with the feet as well when walking's good. So I've been talking a lot. So you can step up or down a gear. So if the tension feels too much, you've got a few options for forceful methods. You can do the direct method like that. You can get a gravity recliner. I meditate mostly in a gravity recliner. I'll put a link below the video about that. And that takes your posturalist user out of the equation. You can do the direct method in a gravity recliner, where you can just directly relax into your body using the core mindfulness process in that way, and then introduce a gentle activity like the repetition of a positive word or chant, mantra, or visualization, and then come back to the direct experience again, stepping up and down the first 2 gears. Or you can meditate and then go for a walk and then come back and meditate. Physical, and by introducing the physical repetition of the walking, the footsteps. It's probably the best first gear method for mindfulness and relaxation, walking. Or you can step up to a third gear, which I call using a more forceful activity to help. Like when you're trying to get a lid off a jar which is too tight, tapping it and doing all sorts of other methods is a bit more forceful. So you can go and get a massage, get someone else to apply the force, see your GP. It's all about applications of force. Like antidepressants is an application of force inside in your body to try and nudge something in the right way that you need. That's all has to be done really carefully. The arm exercise that we did in previous workshop, stretching, yoga exercise, massaging the base of your skull. All these different forceful methods you can do for a short time, then come back to the direct method. One thing to consider is where might we be making unnecessary effort in our life as a whole, where there are sources that cause tension. For me, I found for a lot of my life was because of my personality. I was trying to fit in and not allowing myself to just be being who I am. That can be a great source of tension. Personality, all sorts. It's quite complex, really. But we're mainly working on the with meditation. Let's step up to third gear for a few minutes and work on tension that way. So third gear of mindfulness, we're applying a kind of more demand onto the body. And this is another way of working when there's too much tension, to kind of force the awareness out of the head and into the body. So we can do this. I recommend doing this standing, and seated is okay, but let's try this for a few minutes. So keeping the arms at shoulder height, keeping the hands at shoulder height. So we're straight away with adding a kind of load onto the body. keeping the spine upright. Stretching the arms out slightly, and then relax them, hands in towards the body an inch or so, very slowly. The shoulders relax in towards the body as well. And then very slowly stretching out to each side. So the hands facing down, palms facing down. So again, we're doing the mindfulness process in the body. So one thing you might notice quite quickly is that if there was any mental tension or stress, that might have reduced already. It might reduce fairly quickly, because awareness is being forced into the body. And that happens because the awareness is drawn to where we feel the pain or discomfort in the shoulders. If we keep going a bit longer with this exercise, the shoulders and the arms might feel, you might get a feeling of burn in the muscles. So keeping the hands at the shoulder height if you can. And if it's too much, relaxing the elbows down and keeping the hands up if you can. You can bring the hands in towards the body, relaxing the elbows down. Enjoying the good feeling of relaxation in the shoulders if you feel that. So that's the good feeling of relaxation that I was talking about. And back out when you're ready. This is a way of cutting through any existing mental, physical tension. Forcing the energy to move through the body. And this is a great one for tension headaches. 20 minutes of this, if you can do it, works very well. Because you're freeing up this whole area of the shoulders and shoulder blades and neck. Stretching out. Yeah, stretching out to each side, then relaxing back in. Keeping the hands at the shoulder height. And then stretching out again very slowly. Just a very subtle movement. And then relaxing again. So that's a more forceful method where we're forcing the body to relax a bit more. So ideally that we'd do that a bit longer. Try it a bit longer if you feel able to. Don't push it too much. So yeah, try stepping up and down the gears in that way. Pendulation, titration of difficult experience. When there's physical tension, there's always mental tension. They go together. So you can't have a strong emotional or mental tension without there also being a physical side to it. So there's always a reason why there's physical tension. Stepping up and down the gears. And you can, if all else fails, you can always think of others. Imagine all the other people suffering from the kind of things we're suffering from. And that's good for getting us out of our head, out of our own self-absorption, if that's going on. maybe imagining helping other people suffering from it as well. Again, it's a kind of a forceful method, forcing us out of our shell of our sense of self. So there's a few things to get on with over the weekend, maybe. Do type in any questions or comments. Let us know how you're doing, and come back for the Going Deeper session, which will be on Monday, and have a great weekend. Thanks very much.